My name is Hannah. And I was 27 years old, the night my own mother turned my grandmother's legacy into a joke right in front of everyone. We were sitting at the dinner table, halfway through a normal meal, when she casually placed her fork down like she was about to announce dessert. Instead, she leaned back, smiled smugly, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Oh, by the way, I sold your grandmother's jewelry, the one she left for you, and used the money as a down payment on your stepdad's new car." For a second, the room went silent. I honestly thought I'd imagined it. My chest tightened, but I didn't react. I refused to give her that satisfaction. Before I could even speak, my stepdad laughed and clapped his hands together like this was some kind of achievement. Finally making a smart financial move, he said proudly. My mother soaked it in. She bragged about how the jewelry was just old and dusty, how she'd cleverly turned it into nearly $12,000, and how proud my grandmother would have been if she could see the shiny car sitting in the driveway. Every word felt like a blade. That jewelry wasn't just emeralds and gold. It was the last promise my grandmother ever made to me. A piece of family history she trusted me to protect. And my mother sold it without asking, then laughed about it like it was nothing. I sat there completely still, my face calm, while something cold settled deep inside me. If my own mother could sell my inheritance for applause at a dinner table, what else was she capable of selling? Later that night, while she slept peacefully, my phone rang before sunrise. I didn't recognize the number, but something told me to answer. "Is this Hannah?" A man snapped the moment I picked up. "Yes. I'm the one who bought your jewelry. Your mother told me you fully agreed to the sale. Now I'm being told that's not true." My heart dropped. He explained everything, how she'd emailed him, how she claimed full ownership, how my name was listed as giving consent. His voice shook with anger. "If this jewelry was sold illegally, I could be dragged into court," he said. "I'm not taking the fall for her lies." Within minutes, documents hit my inbox, and there it was. Under owner, sole owner, mother. Under consent, my daughter Hannah has agreed to this sale. She had even forged my name. I stared at the screen, no longer shocked, just focused. Because this wasn't an impulsive mistake. The emails showed planning. Months of it. And that's when I realized something terrifying. This wasn't about money. This was deliberate. If your own mother plans a betrayal for months and signs your name to it without blinking, is she still family, or is she someone you finally have to fight? Because what I uncovered next proved this was only the beginning. Once the shock faded, something colder took its place: clarity. The buyer explained there was a 7-day cancellation window if ownership had been misrepresented. We were only on day 2. That small detail felt like oxygen after being underwater. But saving the jewelry meant proving one thing. My mother had knowingly lied. After we hung up, I sat alone at my kitchen table and stared at my laptop. Then I did something that still feels surreal, logged into my mother's email. I knew her passwords. She'd never bothered changing them. Same pet name, same numbers, every time. What I found wasn't a single impulsive message. It was months of planning. Email after email showed her joking with the buyer, playing the role of the devoted, misunderstood mother with an ungrateful adult daughter. She called the heirloom emotional clutter. She even attached photos of my grandmother's handwritten note, referring to it as leverage. But what made my stomach twist wasn't the sale itself, it was a bank screenshot she'd casually sent to a friend. Only part of the money went toward the car. The rest, a deposit to a cosmetic surgery clinic, and a reservation at a luxury weekend resort. My hands went numb. She hadn't done this to help the family. She hadn't done this out of desperation. She'd done it to reinvent herself, at my expense. What made it worse was realizing my stepdad didn't know. His messages in her inbox were filled with guilt about finances, stress over the car payment, and gratitude that she'd found a way to help. She lied to him, too. That was the moment betrayal stopped being emotional and became mathematical. Timeline, a paper trail, a strategy. This wasn't a mistake. It was premeditated. I contacted an estate attorney that same day and laid everything out. She listened quietly, then said something that changed everything. "You have a strong fraud case," she said, "but evidence isn't enough. You need her own words. Don't confront her. Let her talk." So I did something that felt wrong but necessary. That evening, I apologized to my mother. I told her I'd overreacted. That I was trying to move on. I even complimented the car. Her entire posture softened. Suspicion melted into satisfaction. "I knew you'd come around," she said, swirling her wine. This was for the best. My phone sat face down on the table, recording every word. I asked innocent questions. How did she find the buyer so fast? How did she get such a good price? And she smiled. Men like that love a sad story, she said. Single mom, ungrateful daughter. Heirloom collecting dust. He practically threw money at me. Then she laughed. The best part was seeing your face when I told you. My chest tightened, but I stayed quiet. Because she was talking herself straight into a confession. If hearing your mother admit that your pain was entertaining doesn't break something inside you, nothing will. But what I captured next without her knowing turned this from betrayal into a weapon. I thought the recording at dinner would be enough. I was wrong. A few days later, I came home earlier than usual and heard my mother's voice drifting from the kitchen. She was on the phone with her closest friend, laughing softly. I froze in the hallway. Something told me to open my recording app again. Her friend whispered, "You actually signed Hannah's name." My mother scoffed, "Please, she never does anything with that jewelry anyway." I felt my breath catch. Then she said the sentence that finally shattered whatever hope I still had. Hurt her a little, and she remembers. That's the only way she learns. My hands shook, but I didn't move. She kept talking casual, cruel, completely unfiltered. She mocked my attachment to sentimental nonsense and complained about how exhausting it was raising a daughter who expected respect. She bragged about the surgery she'd booked, the weekend away, and how nice it would be to disappear somewhere nobody needed anything from her. "I'll shatter that fantasy for 12 grand any day," she said. I stood there, listening to my own mother describe my pain like a teaching tool. When the call ended, I slipped away without a sound and sat in my car, staring at nothing. That was the moment something shifted. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was done protecting her. I sent the recordings to my lawyer, along with the forged contract and emails. The response came back almost immediately. "This is exactly what we needed." Reading that felt surreal. Proof came at a cost. My last illusion about who my mother really was. The next step was the hardest one. I showed everything to my son. I waited until he came home alone. When he saw my face, he stopped mid-sentence. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. "I need you to hear something," I said quietly. I showed him the emails, the forged consent, the bank transfers. Then I played the recordings, her laughter at dinner, her voice in the kitchen admitting she hurt me on purpose. His face drained of color. "She told me the jewelry was hers," he said hoarsely. "She said you didn't care." "She lied," I said. "To both of us." He sat down slowly, rubbing his hands together like they suddenly didn't belong to him. The man who'd laughed at dinner looked sick now. "She said the money was for the family," he whispered. "The car." I nodded. "That's not where it went." Silence filled the room. Finally, he looked up. "Send me everything." That was the moment I realized something unexpected. I wasn't alone anymore. But the biggest surprise was still ahead. Because the next person I turned to was the one everyone told me not to contact. My grandmother. When the lies collapse, and even your mother's allies step back, the truth has a way of waking up the past. And what my grandmother revealed next changed this from a family conflict into a reckoning generations in the making. I found my grandmother's address in the old leather notebook she left behind, the same one that once wrapped the jewelry my mother sold. Everyone had told me she was too sick to visit, too fragile for family drama. That wasn't true. When she opened the door, she looked smaller than I remembered, but her eyes were sharp and familiar. She didn't ask why I was there. She already knew. Over untouched cups of tea, I told her everything: the sale, the forged consent, the recordings. When I played my mother's voice bragging about hurting me, my grandmother's hands began to tremble. "She hasn't changed," she whispered. "She did this to her sister, too. To me. We kept covering for her, hoping she'd grow out of it." Then she said something that broke my heart differently. "I left the jewelry to you because I wanted one thing in this family she couldn't T-twist." She looked at me, eyes wet but steady. "I won't protect her anymore." That was when the plan took shape. At my lawyer's suggestion, we organized a family dinner framed as a quiet gathering to honor my late grandfather. My mother loved being the center of attention. She agreed instantly, already planning the menu, already rehearsing her role. She had no idea it was a courtroom without a judge. Relatives filled the dining room, people who'd always believed my mother's version of events. My stepdad stood off to the side, silent. When my grandmother arrived, my mother froze for half a second before forcing a smile. Dinner went on like nothing was wrong. Laughter, memories, performances. After dessert, I stood up. "There's something I need to share," I said. "It's about Grandma's jewelry." My mother tried to interrupt, but my grandmother's voice cut through the room. Let her speak. I placed the sales contract in the center of the table. Gasps followed as people recognized my name written in handwriting close enough to fool a stranger. I never signed this, I said. I never agreed to the sale. Then I pressed play. My mother's recorded voice filled the room, bragging about the money, mocking my reaction, laughing about how clever she'd been. Then the second recording played, the one where she admitted forging my name and enjoying my pain. The room went silent. You recorded me, my mother hissed. I documented the truth, I replied. My grandmother opened her notebook and showed her own handwriting, clear, deliberate, undeniable. These emeralds were never yours, she said calmly. And from today on, I won't cover for you. My stepdad finally spoke, voice flat. You lied to me, too. On speakerphone, the buyer confirmed everything: the misrepresentation, the forged consent, the cancellation window. He made it clear he would testify. My mother looked around the table and realized something too late. No one was on her side anymore. When the lies are exposed and the people who once defended you fall silent, there's no way back. But the real consequences hadn't even begun yet, and what happened next cost her far more than money. After that night, there was no pretending anything could be fixed with apologies or tears. My lawyer moved fast. With the recordings, forged contract, emails, buyer cooperation, and my grandmother's statement, this was no longer a family disagreement. It was fraud. A formal demand was sent first: return the jewelry, compensate me, and avoid court. My mother refused. She accused me of blackmail, claimed I was destroying her life, said the family would eventually come to their senses. They didn't. The lawsuit was filed. The buyer joined in, demanding the sale be voided or his money returned. In court, I watched my mother read her own emails out loud. I watched her struggle to explain forged consent and why emergency family expenses somehow included cosmetic surgery and luxury weekends. The judge didn't hesitate. The sale was voided. The jewelry was ordered returned to me as the rightful heir. And because the fraud was deliberate, damages were tripled, $36,000 plus costs. The car went first, then the house followed. But consequences didn't stop in court. Someone had recorded part of the family dinner. A clip of my mother laughing about shattering her daughter's fantasy for $12,000 made its way online. It spread faster than I expected. Neighbors recognized her. So did coworkers. Within weeks, she lost her job. My stepdad filed for divorce shortly after. In the paperwork, he refused to co-sign anything ever again. If you can sell out your own child, he told her, you'll sell out anyone. My grandmother rewrote her will. My mother was excluded entirely. Socially, she disappeared. The people who once laughed with her now avoided her. She had spent years controlling the story. Now people had heard her unfiltered voice and believed it. On paper, I'd won, but victory didn't feel like fireworks. Holding the emerald necklace in my hands that night, I felt grief mixed with relief. The jewelry went into a safe, not around my neck. I wasn't ready to wear it yet. Months later, my mother asked to meet with me. She looked smaller, stripped of the confidence she used as armor. She said she'd lost everything and asked if I was happy now. I'm not happy, I told her. I'm free. She said, I'm still your mother. I replied, and you taught me that blood isn't enough. We parted without promises. That night, I finally wore the necklace and saw something different in the mirror: not revenge. Not victory, but a woman who chose herself over inherited damage. After revenge, after justice, after everything is taken back. The real question isn't did I win? Was it walking away the bravest thing I ever did? Thanks for watching the video, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon.